We have had chickens for 8 years and I've loved using them in the garden. One of my favorite ways to use them has been with chicken tunnels that go around the perimeter of the garden. And I've had a lot of people ask me questions about our chicken tunnel setup along with our chicken house, so I thought I would give you the grand tour. So we started out with a chicken coop that my husband made 8 years ago, and it actually just started falling apart. So he made another one, making some adjustments based on what we felt like we needed to have in a chicken coop. He didn't really follow any plans because he's really good at building stuff. And so we just made it what we wanted it to be. As you can see here, we have the dog's pen here, which I really think helps in protecting the chickens in general from predators. And so that's been a really big thing too. Just a quick thing on the chicken coop, if you're curious, we decided to make a little storage area where we can keep the pine shavings and the dog food and extra water, and then there's chicken food in that box there where they can go in and eat their food in the coop. So that was something that was really convenient for us. And then of course, this is the area where we can harvest the chicken manure and shavings, which is amazing for the garden. And there's also roosting bars up here. And then we've got the nesting boxes, which we've got 3 hens on the eggs right now. Peekaboo! And then you can just kind of see here where they have this run that obviously used to be grass that they picked off, but there's plenty of room for them. They have a tire they can play with, and then we water them using this barrel, and they can have plenty of water, and we just have to fill it up a couple of times a year. But the main thing with this setup is the chicken tunnels, and that has been the most fun thing for me for a lot of different reasons. Partly, we can kind of have the chickens free range in a protected way. You can see how they're kind of following me wherever I go, and they're protected from predators, which we have hawks. We have our own little family of hawks out here, and they've never had any problems with that. And we've never had any other predators breach this tunnel before. So it's been a really good way to allow them to free range in the garden. One thing that I really think they do a good job at is they take care of any of insects that come in. And then if I find any insects on my crops while I'm out here, I come and give them a little treat. They've had a lot of slugs this year. And also, anytime I am weeding, I will throw weeds at them so they can have a little bit of a treat as well. So we have the chicken tunnel that's coming all the way here. And then we also have it going on the other side of the garden. Now, we used to have it where it went 3 sides of the garden, but we ended up just making it 2 sides because this area is pretty large, and we think that's plenty of room for them. As you can see, there's just this little opening here that we cut from. We have a fence here, and then obviously the chicken wire as well, and they can just come in and out. You can see they like pecking the weeds. Another benefit to this is that they're able to keep the edges of the garden very tidy. So that's been a huge benefit as well. But basically we just used zip ties here to tie these together. And then this is made out of fence that we just used and made into a tunnel, like an arch. Now after we created the arch here, we needed to secure it so that way it would maintain its shape. And what we ended up doing is, after a certain amount of feet, I can't remember, maybe 6 feet or so, we have intervals here of wire. And that has allowed the tunnels to maintain their shape. And eventually, a lot of times, these wires end up getting buried just because of the way that the chickens walk through the tunnels. They end up scratching, and a lot of times we can't even see that, and they end up being very low to the ground. And you can see here that in some areas where the ground isn't completely level, sometimes we'll put something in here like wood or something like that, because we have had some chickens breach the tunnel and get into the garden when they shouldn't have, and they started helping themselves. So we try to make sure any of the areas that are a little bit higher, we put some kind of barrier there to keep them in the tunnels themselves. Now, one thing that we did on the chicken tunnels on this side where it's open to the property and not really open to the dog pen is we wanted to make sure and put some extra chicken wire here. And this was because we were learning that even with the electric fence, the rabbits were getting into the garden through these chicken tunnels. With this particular type of fence, they were squeezing through, they were jumping through the electric fence. So we had both of this barrier basically. So we have the electric fence and then we also have the chicken wire here to prevent rabbits and other predators from getting into the area from the outside. So that's what we've got here. And then we have it open on the inside. And you can just kind of see that this is zip tied, so nothing major. And then we have it pretty much all down the west side of our garden. This is a perennial insectary garden that I planted that attracts beneficial insects, and with the chickens in the chicken tunnels here, they keep that in check on this side as much as possible and get some healthy treats sometimes. So as you can see, they have quite a bit of room here. It goes all the way down and they're able to snack. It's easy for me to throw them weeds when I'm weeding the garden. I've learned there's certain weeds that they like more than others. And honestly, they're just my companions. I love having them in the garden. This is the only area they go. They don't go all the way around. Of course, we have a large space. They could, but we felt like this was plenty for the amount of chickens that we have to be able to come and free range and just hang out in the garden. This has been my favorite part of having chickens, is having them here in the chicken tunnel. And I've just enjoyed it so much. So if you have chickens or you're thinking about having chickens and you have a garden, I would highly recommend you consider the chicken tunnels. It's been so much fun.